I'm live. I have it on good authority that I'm live. So, good evening, everybody. I am Reverend Denise Schubert, the founder and director of A Life of Spiritual Power. And I am here streaming to you from North Fort Myers in Florida. How are you? I did the most fun thing today. Really, I did the most fun thing. I went to a movie. Yep. They opened up the theaters yesterday and I went and enjoyed a movie today. Feels like life is returning to normal. I'm now working with Reverend Mark Anthony Lord at the Naples Unity in Naples, Florida. And we're actually doing our grand reopening of our spiritual community on September 27th. So I don't know. Life is getting back to normal. It's awesome. So this is Sunday Night Alive. We meet here every Sunday at 5 p.m. We come together truly just to talk about spiritual topics, practical spirituality, how we might engage ourselves in such a way that we are more inspired and educated and empowered to live a life we love, to live a life that feels authentic and meaningful to us, and to also find a way to be in the world and of service to the world that we live in, because indeed we are one. We are all one. We talk about this all the time. All leaves on the same tree, waves in the same ocean, snowflakes on the same mountain. We think we're different because we are different religions or different colors or different political parties, but we are one. We are connected. And the more we realize that, the happier we all will be, and the more the world will be able to work for everyone. So I'm glad you're joining me tonight. I'm excited about our topic, but before we do, there is a chat room, and I would love for you to say hello to me. It makes me feel a little more connected on this venue, because right now I just have a little webcam I'm talking to, trusting that somebody out there is paying attention. So I'm acting as if, but you can actually see me and you can tell me that you see me. So that would be lovely. So our topic tonight is stop hitting the snooze button on life. Oh, and by the way, if you've been joining me all along, you'll notice that my backdrop has changed. I removed my elephants and my cheetah. And I did that because I'm providing the spiritual message at the Unity Church on September 6th, and I needed it to be a little less Africa and a little more something else. So, but I like it. I like it. I hope you like it too. But you can tell me if you like it or don't like it, because I can put the elephants back up for you if I have to. So, don't hit the snooze button. My God, what does that mean? Don't hit the snooze button. Well, what does it mean? It means that in the morning, when you're not ready to wake up or you don't want to get out of bed, you delay it by pressing the snooze button, right? And sometimes some of us do that once, some of us do that 20 times, some of us don't do it. We just don't wake up when the alarm goes off. So, but it's time we wake up. So it's time to wake up. It's time to wake up to your life. That's our message today. I'm going to put a little spin on it because I was listening to Reverend Mark Anthony do his talk this morning, and I was so inspired by it that I thought I'm just called to include some of its messages here. And it happened to be on the prodigal son. And I'm not sure, we're going to see how this all fits into stop hitting the snooze button on your life. But, I want to start, I'm reminded by a quote. It's not really a quote because I didn't quote it, but when the Buddha was asked how he became enlightened, his response was that he wasn't enlightened. He merely awakened. He woke up. So that's our invitation always as spiritual seekers, is to wake up, is to come out of the illusion of separation, come out of the feeling disconnected from each other and from life, to actually awakening to reality with a capital R. And right now it's interesting that I know a lot of spiritual people who in my view, in my assessment, practice awakening. It's always practice. We pray, we meditate, we walk in nature, we read uplifting things, and still the world kind of has us all by the throat right now. That there's so much fear and so much worry and so much doubt and so little living in the hopeful expectation of a tomorrow that we will love. And our divine inheritance, whatever that means to you, what we inherited from the love intelligence that created us, by whatever name you wish to call it. I'm actually more in love with God now than I ever was. And I'm not even sure what it is I'm talking about when I'm talking about that, because I certainly know it's not a gray-haired man on a cloud, and it's not the great problem solver of life, that it's more like this amazing grace we live in. We live in this amazing universe that is so loving and so forgiving and so accepting. And really, that was the story of the prodigal son. He's kind of like all of us right now. He's out in the wastelands, wasting his divine inheritance, right? Until he's just face down in the mud, right? So he left it. His father was very wealthy. He asked for his inheritance. Dad, I want my inheritance because I want to go out into the world. I want to experience life. And so his father, without question, said, sure, here you go. And he went out, and tasted everything there was to taste and squandered his inheritance. Now, the divine inheritance is not really monetary. The divine inheritance is joy and peace and love and acceptance and forgiveness and compassion and kindness and health and abundance. It's like everything. We've been given everything. And when we go out into the world and get captivated, we forget. We forget. We get caught up in the story of the day. And our job is to wake up to the real story of the day. The real story. And the real story is that we in this love intelligence can never be separated, that we can never be apart from our good, that God and I are a majority. And if this love intelligence is for me, who could be against me? I know it's not a popular thing, but I'm not afraid of COVID. I'm not afraid of anything. I am not. That I walk in this world knowing that it's like Star Trek. I have this field of protection around me. And that's not to say, that it's not real. And it's not to say that I don't wear a mask. It's not to say that I don't wash my hands. But I will not squander my divine inheritance on it. I will not. I remember when COVID first started and I had this a little momentary kerfuffle in my emotional body. And I just made a promise to myself to wake up. That I was not going to go to sleep. I was not going to forget who and to whom I belonged. And I remember saying, I don't know what this is, and I don't know when the movie theaters are going to open again, and I can go get a massage and a pedicure. I don't know all that. But what I am going to do is I'm going to be better when it's over. I started all this exercise program and swimming. I started Sunday Night Alive, and I bought some equipment, and it's been just kind of a miracle, So the cost of staying asleep, the cost of hitting the snooze button and not waking up. Well, for me, of course, I'm probably decades older than most of you, but I just turned 69, and I know I've been saying 70 for a year, but it's next year. So my next birthday, I'll be 70. And there's no more time to sleep. Do you understand? And I felt that way when I was 45. There's just no more time to sleep. It's time to wake up. It's time to be authentic. It's time to be happy. It's time to make a difference. It's time to pee in the snow. That was a very funny thing to say. I don't even know where it came from. But, it's time to make your mark on the world. Okay, cancel, rewind. So, but there is no more time. There's no time to not awaken to your best life ever. There's no time. That do it now. My nephew just had his second birthday, and I promise you, he was born yesterday, right? That the time goes, it is just over. Now, it's not really over, because as birthless, deathless, eternal beings, we're not going anywhere permanently, that we will complete this incarnation and then spiral in our ever evolving upward good. But that's not the point. The point is that there's so much beauty here. I was swimming this morning, and we have a pool. I live in a community that has a pool. And I'm in the pool, and it's early, and I'm the only one there. And I just stopped for a minute. I'm looking around, and I just saw this flurry of life, butterflies partaking, birds chirping. There's a lot of little geckos here, geckos chasing each other. It's like life was happening. And if you're asleep, you will miss it. You won't be able to see it. So the prodigal son, this thing about, I think we all have to get into right relationship with God. I think that's just the truth, that somewhere for most of us, we just got a little beat up by the ego's interpretation of what God is. This punishing. Mark Anthony this morning was talking about even as children. There was Santa Claus. Checking to see who was good and who was bad and who would get presents and who wouldn't, and how damaging that is for children, how it makes us behave inauthentically, how it makes us hide who we are, that it makes us afraid to speak our bold, rude truth, as Emerson said, into life. And waking up is about that kind of authenticity. Waking up is about being comfortable in your own skin. It's about being who you are. And who you are, by the way, who you are is a love bunny. Who you are is soft and sweet. And you could not convince me otherwise. I don't care what you've done. I don't care what your nasty little thoughts are, that you are a child of the infinite. You are here. You have amazing parentage, right? I'm not talking about your mom and dad. I'm talking about that from whence we sprung. There's nothing but love over there, which is the story of the prodigal son, right? So the prodigal son or daughter, this lost child, is out in the world, squandered all of his divine inheritance, all of his joy, all of his peace, all of his calm, all of his right to be here, all of his self-esteem. He's just, he ends up in the worst place a Jewish person can end up, which is working in the pig pen, because, Jewish people don't eat pigs. They don't like pigs. So in the story, it's like the worst possible thing. And he just knew, he was, I have been face down in the mud. Have you? I've felt like life was over, like I had nothing. I had no help. I had nothing. I have been there. And that's where the prodigal child was, the prodigal son was. And so he had this idea. He said, well, I'm going to be ashamed and guilty, but I'm going to go home. I'm going to go home to my father's house. And I'm just going to hope he forgives me and gives me a job, because any job he could give me would be better than playing with the pigs. So most people know the story. So he did go home, going, I hope it's not too hard on me. I hope he says yes. I hope he'll give me a job. But it was not that. It wasn't not even close to that. His father ran and held him in his arms, said, you're home. I love you. I'm so happy you're home. He threw him a party. He gave him a coat. There was no condemnation, no judgment, only love, love, love. So waking up for us, the benefit of waking up is we get returned to the place of love within our own hearts, because, all of these stories are metaphysical stories. The prodigal son who wastes his treasures is in you. We haven't talked about the good son. The good son was a son that felt righteous, like he was the good boy and his brother was the bad boy. And why would his father love his brother as much as he loves him? Because his brother, after all, squandered the inheritance, and he had to do all of it by himself, But the father would not have any of that. The father says, I love you both. You are my sons. I love you both. Everything I have is yours forever. Everything I have is yours. So we have the good son in us too. We have the righteous one who thinks that we did it better than someone else, or we know better than someone else. And we also have within us this capacity for unconditional love. We have within ourselves this capacity for forgiveness and for acceptance and compassion. So to wake up means to put the world in its proper perspective so that you can be free. So the cost of waking up is bondage. The payoff for waking up is freedom. And there is no time to waste. How long do you want to be bound? Right? How long do you want to be afraid? How long do you want to be worried about the future? How long do you want to be complaining and critical and uh, living in dread of what's to come next? God and you are a majority. When God is for you, who could be against you? Now, and by God, I just simply mean this love intelligence that is in back of everything. Usually we say the other little aspect of the prodigal son story, which I love, is that, and I'm a religious science minister, a science of mind minister, and a New Thought minister. So New Thought is really the unity, churches, centers for spiritual living, agape. And we believe strongly in spiritual laws and principles, right? We believe strongly in the law of cause and effect, the law of reciprocity, the law of attraction, the law of attention. And all of those laws are true and real. And if you don't know that and aren't using them consciously, you should, because your life will be a whole lot better if you do. But we don't often talk about, because it feels like we're the doers. Like if we use these laws right, we'll have good. And if we don't use these laws right, we won't. And that is true. That is true. But there's this thing that the prodigal son story represents for me called grace. And grace is when you don't ask, because normally we say you take one step towards God, God will take 10 steps towards you. Ask and it is given. Knock and you will receive. Knock and the door is answered, which implies that the good of the infinite good of the infinite can't be ours until we ask. But that isn't always true, because there are times, and I know you've had them, when you are at your lowest and God's grace touched you without your having to ask, that you were lifted without your having to ask. You were lifted without your having to do anything. So the good is everywhere. And it's like just wait. We just have to wake up. So quit hitting the snooze button and just wake up. There was another thought I just had about this, about grace. So we're talking about grace, the grace of God. I guess if it's supposed to be said, it will come back. So, it had something to do with, there was no withholding anything on the part of the father when the prodigal son went home. There was no, everything was returned tenfold. So oftentimes, the way I've worded this historically is that when you wake up and you return to your true identity, when you return to your true home, everything you think you lost, everything you think you did wrong, everything you think is forever out of your reach is returned to you tenfold. That in life, nothing can be lost. It's just returned. Now, I know what it was though. So Reverend Mark was talking about how addicts, the true addict, how they're lucky, that those of us who have had trouble with food or alcohol or drugs or smoking or sex or the internet. Oh my God, this is all of us. Really is all of us. But that in some ways we're the lucky ones, because when you are face down with nothing, when you're playing with the pigs, there's an opening that happens, right? There's this like request will somebody please help me? Will somebody please save me from this mess that I have made of my life, or this mess of my life that somebody else has made? Whatever it is, there's this opening, there's an invitation for the rest of us, where there's no hitting bottom experience. Your whole life could be this kind of mediocre, no high highs, no low lows, just this mediocre, being the good son, right? Doing everything right, trying not to rock the boat, feeling righteous. And that's great. That's great, except it's not awake. It's not aliveness. We're looking for aliveness, this ecstatic expression of life. Now, do you have to be ecstatically expressing 24/7? No. But your moments of worry, doubt, and fear should be small and short. And, for me, I can tolerate maybe 3 minutes of suffering. I have no tolerance. Like, if I'm not happy, or my peace is gone, or I'm worried about the future, I immediately go home to the Father's house immediately, because it is the being awake. The payoff for being awake is your freedom and your joy and your capacity and ability to care for other people and to be a beneficial presence on the planet, and to stop making people wrong, and to start elevating them and exalting them, right? Because people will be to you what you see, right? And when we see the spirit of love in a person, we activate that spirit in them. We awaken it. So you and I get to be that. There is no time to hit the snooze button. We need to awaken. We need to return to the equilibrium. We need to get past COVID and the effects that it has. I trust that even now, the intelligence, the mind of God is working through someone's mind somewhere to find vaccines and cures. That there is nothing more powerful than that creative source of all. There are not two powers. There's only one power. And that's the power of love. Everything else is an illusion and is the end result of sleepwalking. But we're not going to do that. Why? Because we're not going to hit the snooze button anymore, right? You promise? Wake up. Wake up. I admonish you, just wake up. Be present in life. Do whatever you have to do to return yourself, whatever that is. Go to a center, get some prayer from me or someone, read an uplifting book, turn off the news, stop engaging in negativity, and just start sitting in this Mother, Father, God presence. Just start sitting in that house and watch how everything that the locusts have eaten is restored to you. So stop hitting the snooze button. That's our message for today. That's it. So I appreciate you. I've taken this job, and I'm head of the Sacred Service Ministry for Unity Naples, and it's we're not even back in church yet, and it's still a little bit of work for me every day as I start reaching out to people. And I'm grateful for the opportunity. Community is everything. There's no way you're going to awaken sitting on your couch. You need to be out with people. And it's not easy to be out with people right now because, one, everybody's wearing a mask. Two, we're afraid of being sneezed on. But that's not even the big reason. The big reason, too, is that most of us, community is hard. You have to learn patience and tolerance and flexibility and acceptance. And you have to learn how to set healthy boundaries. So, but that's, we're here. I may be a me, but I'm also a we. You may be a you, but you're also a many. So our happiness depends on our ability to be of service to the world, and our ability to be of service to the world requires that we wake up. Gandhi said the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in service to others. So have at it. So next week, the topic is trust yourself, because most of us don't trust ourselves very much, not even to lose 5 pounds, really. We're a little, forget about committing to others. We can't even really commit to ourselves. So we're going to talk about trust. And before I pray, if you are fed by Sunday Night Alive and you want to support the work through your tithes or love offerings, you can do that at revdschubert@gmail.com through PayPal, or you can go to my website, deniseschubert.com. So I am here and I look forward to seeing you next week. So let us take a moment and close out our stream tonight. I'm going to read the chat. So if you were here, hopefully you said hello. And I support you in your awakening. I do, 100%. So let us take a moment. Just invite you. You can close your outer eyes, as I will. For truly closing the outer eyes, we're going to let COVID sit right out there. We're going to let the upcoming election sit right out there. We're going to let any person, situation, conditions, or circumstance that is causing us to lose our peace of mind to be out in the world. And then we're going to open our inner eyes, which allows us to gaze at the space and place within us that is whole and perfect. It allows us to gaze right into our third eye, which is our source and connection with God or intelligence or light or love or nature, whatever it is you want to call it. And we breathe. We breathe into the capacity within us to awaken, the capacity within us to change our minds, the capacity within us to change our hearts, the capacity within us to surrender to something greater than ourselves. That this universe that asleep has created, this universe that the ego has created, cannot withstand the power of love, cannot withstand the power of your love. And so I simply, through this connection and through our attention to unconditional love and acceptance, speak this word for and about you, for and about myself, to simply, it's a word of restoration, a word of restoring us to our rightful place, our rightful mind, our rightful heart, restoring us to a life that is our divine inheritance. We were born with the capacity, we incarnated with the capacity to experience unbridled love, unbridled passion, unbridled joy. And so anything unlike that, just shake it off. Just shake it off. Open, have a revelation in this moment, just like the prodigal son. I think I'm going to return to the source of love. And hopefully when I return, I'll be forgiven and accepted. And I'm here to tell you, you are already forgiven and accepted. Just go home. And so I am so grateful to speak these words, so grateful to be in this consciousness for myself, so grateful to have gone to a movie theater today. How great. And so grateful for the technology that allows us to connect like this every single Sunday at 5 p.m. And so for this and for more than my words can possibly say, I am grateful, releasing the word I've spoken into the manifesting universe that God created, which is even now moving molecules around within our hearts, within our minds, and within the world to allow love to re-emerge as the guiding principle of our awakening. And so we just let this be, and we let this be together by saying, and so it is. Amen. All right, beloveds, I love you, and I will see you again next week. Peace and blessings. Be well, be happy, and be awake. Don't hit the snooze button anymore.